we'll leave that discussion at bay. I want to dive a little bit more into Doug Pederson. Then we'll get to Carson Wentz. I'm going to air out a little bit, okay? I'm not liking what I'm seeing, man, but let's stick to Doug Pederson. So, Doug Pederson, the reason why I have him as an elite head coach is, let's talk about Kyle Shanahan, because I think that a lot of people have anointed Kyle Shanahan, and for good reason to a certain degree, because Kyle Shanahan, he's creative, he's smart, he knows what he's doing. But see, here's the thing. Doug Pederson, I would take him over Kyle Shanahan. Let's do a little comparison right here. Kyle Shanahan blew 2 opportunities to win a Super Bowl, both as a coordinator and as a head coach. Doug Pederson, in his second season, with a backup quarterback, goes out there and wins a Super Bowl versus Bill Belichick. I mean, I know Andy Reid's a great head coach, but he's not Bill Belichick to me. Doug Pederson took down Bill Belichick. I'm just saying, man. And Kyle Shanahan, for his career, has a below 500 record. Doug Pederson, that's not the case. Doug Pederson, for his career, I believe, I didn't write the record down. Shame on me, but I believe that he's about 10 games over 500. The last 3 seasons, he's had winning seasons. He's gotten this Eagles team to the playoffs. Last year, dealing with all those injuries to the offensive line, the wide receiver core, some injuries on the defense. I mean, the fact that he won that division over a very talented Dallas Cowboys team definitely is something that I'm impressed with, man. I think that Doug Pederson is creative. He's smart. He understands his personnel. He makes very good decisions in high leverage moments. The one thing I will say about Doug Pederson, though, is where I'm, kind of going to give some pushback to where he may not be as good as a Tomlin or a Reid or a Belichick, is because I think Doug Pederson does a great job of adjusting week to week and, being great on script. But sometimes, he drive to drive and play by play. I just don't see the adjustments that are necessarily there. So that's the one thing I would knock Doug Pederson for. And like you said earlier, sometimes when Doug Pederson is, the hunted, his team doesn't perform. But when they have their back against the wall, that's one of the best head coaches in all football. So there is a little bit of inconsistency to Doug Pederson. But man, I got to say, I believe that he's one of the 6 best head coaches in all football. And I believe he's an elite head coach. What do you say to that? Is he an elite head coach?
He checks all the boxes, right? He has the Super Bowl. You talked about, you want a guy where the players enjoy playing for the guy. That's Doug Pederson, hands down. You talk about a guy who makes the adjustments and who's a great X's and O's guy. He's of all the teams that I've been a fan of, and I've seen mind you, I've watched Chip Kelly coach, right? I watched Chip Kelly coach that Eagles team. Doug Pederson's probably the most creative coach I've ever observed on an in-depth basis, right? There's probably more creative coaches out there, but I haven't observed them as much as I've observed Doug Pederson. But again, all of that comes when his back is against the wall. I want to see Doug Pederson in the way that he to agree with you, I do think he's an elite head coach. But for him to enter that Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick conversation, those guys, year in and year out, when people know I got to worry about the Steelers, I got to worry about the Patriots, I got to worry about the Chiefs, they still come with something extra, and they come with something different, and they come with something that they hadn't seen before, right? I don't see that from Doug Pederson. Doug Pederson, he kind of gets figured out, and then he comes with something new rather than anticipating people figuring out. That's the next evolution for Doug Pederson, but I do think he's an elite head coach, man. I'm glad you said that, because not a lot of people will recognize him as an elite head coach. But the dude, like you said, he won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, with an injury-riddled team. And the more that I look at that season, it was a miracle, man. That should not have happened. There's no way that team even makes it out of the second round of the playoffs. I mean, you go to that Julio catch with Jalen Mills covering him in I think that was a wild card game. Damn near a catch. I was watching, that was damn near a catch. And then he just caught a beautiful game against Minnesota. And I remember everyone had anointed Minnesota. That was after the Minnesota Miracle, Stephon Diggs throwing his helmet.
That was actually the year they had the Super Bowl in Minnesota, I believe. Yes,
in Minnesota, and everyone thought it's destiny, man. It's destiny to happen. And what does Philadelphia go and do? Doug Pederson has what I still think is the greatest game of his career. They dropped so many points on that dominant Minnesota defense with Nick Foles, man. And I'll never forget the flea flicker, right? Who calls that flea flicker? But it worked like a charm, man. So, Doug Pederson is an elite head coach, and anyone who says otherwise, I'm not sure is watching enough of Doug Pederson or football in general, man.
Yeah, and again, going a little bit back to Nick Foles, I like Nick Foles. I believe that he, when it matters most in the playoffs, he's definitely a guy that can come through for you. If you give him protection, if you give him a good offensive line, he can win you games. But Nick Foles, outside of Philadelphia, has been meh, M-E-H, meh. In Kansas City was okay with the Rams, not good. What was his other team? Oh, the Jaguars last year. couldn't beat out Minshew. I like Minshew, but yeah, it just didn't pan out. But yeah, Doug Pederson, definitely an elite head coach, and anyone that says otherwise, I disagree with that, man. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.